Hello and welcome to this Automation Academy Mastering the Machine webinar for the 1st of April 2023. Today's topic was the celebration of Lirpa Sloof. You'll have to check the webinar out to discover more about this hot topic. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this Mastering the Machine Automation Academy webinar for the 1st of April 2023. Today's topic is the art of Lirpa Sloof, and all will become very clear in a few minutes as I explain exactly what that is. So first, what is the Automation Academy itself? It is a membership site that I started several years ago that contains training videos for Allen Bradley, Siemens, Beckhoff, many things we're going to be discussing today, and an ever-growing library of training and technical documents and software. There is a community with interest groups called IO Central. Feel free to join that. It is free for all to join, and we do have regular events like this Mastering the Machine webinar. For those of you who have logged in from LinkedIn, you will notice that I asked everyone to bring their cephalopod. For those who don't know what a cephalopod is, this is a cephalopod. But if you're going to wear one of these, this is something that you don't want to wear a live one. So I am going to don my cephalopod. And my cephalopod is not alive. It is an artificial cephalopod. There we go. So one of the advantages of wearing a cephalopod is that in the season of Lirpa, the only truth that can be spoken is while wearing a cephalopod. As I've mentioned here, wearing a live one is very dangerous, so I don't recommend that for anyone. This is the old headgear that we used to wear during Lirpa Sloof, and as you can see, it was pretty easy to make out of general home ingredients. You could use tinfoil, you could use cardboard, that sort of thing. Tinfoil tended to work a little bit better, but we have evolved, and now we are wearing newer headgear, as you can see. So these are the directions for making some of the older headgear, and this is useful for shielding yourself from the sun's rays, things like that, and of course outside influences, mental influences and things like that. So that's just a little bit of history of Lirpa Sloof itself. New members who join the Automation Academy will be able to pick up some of these artificial enhancement tools. You can see here that we provide these pills, and they are color-coded. These don't seem like tremendously useful powers. Things like growing a second nose, I don't know how that might have an advantage. Of course, if one of them was stuffed up, you might be able to breathe out of the other one. Communicating with oysters, maybe you could talk them into being eaten, something like that. Free gravel for life. Now, you could sell it. You could basically you could basically turn it into a marketing thing. 10 hours younger in most cases doesn't mean much. Can teleport up to 7 inches away. Most people choose this as one of their choices because you can repeatedly teleport 7 inches and then another 7 inches. Or if you got into an altercation with somebody, you could stand straight in front of them and then teleport 7 inches straight towards them, and it would probably cause some damage. Can instantly see inside any empty container. That could be useful, unless, of course, it was not empty. But anyway, this is a gift that we are making here at the Automation Academy for anybody who joins today. I'd like to talk a little bit about the concepts of good and evil. You may recognize some of these companies. The ones on the left are generally considered good. One of the reasons that we put the label of good on these companies is because they have helped sponsor our program and we have a close relationship with them. And the ones in the middle are honestly pretty good also. They help me provide a living for myself, which is important. And then, of course, most people know that the companies on the right are well-known evil companies. And you can see here that generally red lightsabers are a sign that a company or any of the people who are in the company are evil. And most of the people, especially from Rockwell, use red lightsabers. Microsoft especially is known as an evil company. And I've spent a lot of time dealing with Microsoft problems lately. So this is an example of something that I did last week. Spent a lot of time updating computers. And you can see here I have several laptops. And the difficulty that I had last week was in removing Hyper-V. Hyper-V is virtualization software that Microsoft provides for everyone to use in case they want to use hypervisor. Some security software uses it, but it allows you to virtualize machines. And of course, if you want to use something like VMware, then that's a problem because you have to remove Hyper-V. Now, why is this important in terms of today's discussion? Because Beckhoff, and I am teaching a class in Beckhoff in a couple of weeks, Beckhoff will not run the simulation part of the software. It will not allow you to run a virtual PLC on your computer unless Hyper-V is uninstalled. So I spent a lot of time trying to uninstall it. And out of these 3 computers, I was able to remove it from 2 of them using no less than 3 different commands to disable Hyper-V. Now, you might ask, why are there 3 separate commands to do this? That's a really good question. So along with many other things involving updates and things like that for Microsoft, we don't know why they do what they do. Most of them are for commercial reasons, such as Bing. Most people use Google. But if you try to change over to Google Chrome or something like that, Bing will ask you to please leave Bing on the computer and use it. And wouldn't you like to be a part of the Microsoft family? And in most cases, if I had another choice, I would choose something else. But unfortunately, all of the software that I use runs on Microsoft. So for that reason, I'm putting Microsoft in the evil category on this continuum. These companies here, I recommend that you check out. They are much smaller than Microsoft or Rockwell Software. We all know why Rockwell Software is evil. The hardware costs far too much. The software is difficult to deal with. They come out with new versions every year, and they do not improve the product. They simply come out with new versions so that they can keep you hooked on their software and paying support. And for those of us who depend on that software, we have to pay the support or we fall behind in the technology. So that's why Rockwell is considered evil. Microsoft, of course, we've already covered that. I am working on some new products. That's one of the things that I'm involved in right now. You can see this one. This idea came up several years ago when I tripped over a cable that had an electrical power strip plugged into the wall. And, I was working on a lot of wireless technology at that time. And I thought, why do we have to have this cable tied to the wall? Everything is going wireless. So why not simply upgrade this to a wireless version? And so I came up with some of these products, and I'm still working on them. They do communicate just fine. As a matter of fact, here's one of the little widgets, and this is refined over what you see down here, but I can plug this into the wall and remotely control it. And so the logical next step was to make the outlet itself in the power strip wireless. So you can see here, these units plug into the wall, and there is a smaller antenna and a longer one. And then, of course, there is the wireless 13 amp power strip. So that's one of the products that I'm working on. Here are some other ones along the wireless theme, things that I've been working on in the past. And you probably saw this on the last webinar. I'm using Arduino to create these little wireless units. This is my Raspberry Pi and Arduino cabinet here, and I'm using it to transmit to this Arduino, which is remotely mounted. And the intent is to take things like these humidity sensors and environmental sensors and make them wirelessly communicate. And I'm going to be testing them around the house and things like that. So these are kind of low level compared to what you probably most people have known me for in the past, which is PLC training and that sort of thing. But that's one of the projects that I'm working on. Here's some of the Pi stuff. For those of you who haven't heard of Pi plates, right? This is a DIN rail mountable unit that mounts a Raspberry Pi onto a piece of DIN rail here. And that is the DIN plate assembly. And you can go to this website and you'll find this information from Jerry Wassinger, who owns Pi Plates down in Atlanta. This is something known as a case plate. You can probably see it here on the camera. Also doing a lot of training. That's what I've done over the last couple of weeks, organizing a lot of my electronic components, things like that. I am leaving for Chicago this week, going to meet with some people from Control Engineering Magazine and maybe do a little interview up there and teach a class on Allen Bradley control logics, which is, again, most of what I've been dealing with. Doing some organization of vision and working on a small vision project that's been on hold for quite a while. What else have I been working on? So learning new things. This is very important, right? These are things that I honestly did not know about ducks. Until 1995, they were classified as pond cats. Would have never guessed that. Their feet are made of cheese. I verified that. And natural enemy of almost everything is explosion. So that's another important thing that I've learned lately. Like to bring up also Make Nashville. I don't know if you have things like this in the city where you live, but maker spaces are very popular. They have them in, I know, Atlanta and Tampa, some other places where I've met people that have this. But for those of you who watch some of the little widgets that I put together on here and things and want to get involved in these sort of things, look around in whatever city you live in and just look for maker spaces. There are lots of these around, and they, for a pretty cheap amount, you can learn all kinds of things. 3D printing is one of the things I'm still trying to learn, including 3D modeling. I do not do 3D modeling myself. I wish I did. So I'm learning a little bit of that down there and trying to make some boxes to hold the other things that I'm working on, sensor networks that I'm trying to set up. But when it comes to transferring large quantities of data, this is limited to only 64 bytes of information. So the Bluetooth, obviously, I can continuously stream information, but that's going to open up a new can of worms because I'm going to have to learn Kotlin, which is a language that you use to write Android apps. So for those people who have always wondered where those apps come from, I think somebody said 70 to 80% of Android applications are written in a language called Kotlin, which I believe is linked to C or C# language. So that's a little bit of what I'm working on there. As I mentioned, taught a couple classes last weekend, the week before, and next week I'll be doing the same thing. But that's most of what I had today. And for those of you who wondered more about all of this, I think I've explained it pretty well here as far as learning new things and everything. Lirpa Sloof, of course, is April Fool's spelled sideways, which is why I really didn't have anything else to cover today. So I decided to have a little fun. Happy Lirpa Sloof. And the next webinar will be April 15th And I thought, since it's on tax day, keeping with our levity here, I'll be talking about starting a business, which of course a big part of that is paying taxes and making estimates, making quarterly estimates or monthly estimates, and then paying the government for the workers that you have and things like that, workman's comp and all that. So anybody who has any questions about starting and owning a business, I've had a business for most of my adult life, since about 34 years old. I think I started my first business, and I'm 62 right now. So I can tell you all the things that you don't want to do if you ever start your own endeavor. But that is pretty much it for today. Before I go, are there any questions like, why am I wearing this hat? If not, of course, you can catch us on YouTube here. There are now upwards of 100 videos now on YouTube. And of course, on the Automation Academy website here, automationllc.com, Automation Academy, you will find even more videos, lots of videos, and lots of downloads. Thank you very much for attending, and I will see you the next time around. And happy Lirpa Sloof.